Okay, Gerald loved the fire department. When I became a firefighter, he was quite a few years younger than me, 8 years younger, so he didn't really understand the fire department because I came on a job at 22 years old, 24 years old, and he was only like 16, 17 years old. But as he got older, he saw that the fire department was quite interesting and he wanted to be a firefighter, so he became a firefighter. And we used to study for promotions together because I was a chief in a neighboring city, and we would study together and pass answers back and forth and question each other and stuff so that we could get good marks on our exams. And I became a chief and he eventually became a battalion chief, which was his dream. When Jerry died in 2002, his wife told me that I was his mentor. And boy, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I really was touched by that. But during Jerry's life, we had a lot of fun together, and of course, we would talk fires. And I always had a bigger fire than him, but not according to him. His fires are always bigger than mine. And we would talk fire stories or exams about, hey, did you get all the questions on these exams? Or we would rewrite the exams and see how many questions we had right to try to guess our mark before we got our marks. And one of the things that we were going to do is, he called me up one day and he said, Roger, I'm going to buy a new van. I said, well, I'm thinking about buying a van also. Well, let me do my homework. And he was a computer guy before I was. And he used to do a lot of computer science or studying for guys that wanted to buy stuff. He would go online and find the best deal that he could find for somebody. So he found the cars that had the best deals, the best prices, and we bought 2 cars together, 1 serial number apart. A red Caravan, Dodge Caravans in 2000, and of course he died in 2002. And several years after, his wife wanted to buy a new car. So we went to the dealership and she introduced me as Roger and it was Diane. They thought I was her husband because we had the same last name. So when we were dealing with the salesman, it got pretty interesting because she would look at me and I would look at her, and she'd throw a price out and I would make like I don't know if that's a good price and stuff. And it got so at the end, the salesman said, you should be behind this desk and see what it's like. So she goes behind the desk and says, would you buy this car for this money? I said, yes, I would. The salesman threw his arms up in the air like this and said, it's sold. And we laughed all the way home. And then he found out I was her brother-in-law. I said, you think she was tough to deal with? Should have dealt with my brother. We laughed for that so much, it was funny. So those are just some of the good things that happened after my brother died. I mean, we miss him, we love him. I built a fire truck in his memory to carry fallen firefighters, and we've used it 6 times already. It's engine 266 after his badge, and it's just a tribute to, he wouldn't be forgotten. He didn't die for nothing. And we're going to give scholarships to children after the truck's paid for, like the foundation did for his children. Pay it forward. So that's basically my brother and I. We had a lot of laughs together. And when the night that he passed away, we were with him and his crew came in. So we took 2 people at a time to where he was in his bed. He was in the bed upside down. He was laying on his stomach so the fluid wouldn't collect in his lungs because he had lung failure. And they would say, you have to get better, Jerry. It's too hard to train a new chief. We don't want to train a new chief. And well, he didn't get better, but they gave him a nice tribute when he was gone. Oh, we would talk over union stuff because he was in the union and I wasn't in the union. So we would talk over different things about our department's policies versus his department's policies. And he would always ask me, though, there's going to be an exam for a deputy chief. Should I take the exam? And I would tell him, you're too young to take a day job. You have a shift, and you like to go to Disney World for a week at a time. And he would have year passes for his whole family, so they could go anytime they'd want. So I said, you can get a standby and you can go down to Disney World for a week or longer. But if you take a day job, you've lost that opportunity, and your children are too small. So I said, maybe in a few years, but you're too young to take that job, you know. And actually, his dream was to be a battalion chief, and he achieved that goal. And me being his mentor was like, wow. I know when he made captain, my dad was still alive. I gave my captain's badges to my dad to give to my brother. I said, Dad, you give these to Jerry. So he did that. So he used to wear my captain's badges on his uniform. That was nice. In fact, just before I retired, I said to Jerry, we need to take a picture together in our dress uniforms. So we arranged to have that done. So we had a picture of us together, then we gave to my dad, and we had a picture taken separately. And when he passed, his wife said, I don't have a picture of Jerry in his uniform. And I said, yes, you do. We took pictures separately when we did our together picture. And she said, that's right. So that's the picture that she used on his cards when we had his funeral. Yeah. I tell people that I can relate to how a brother feels about a brother, but I cannot relate how a wife feels about a husband or a son. But I can relate to the brothers, and that's what I like to do, is to talk to the brothers about how I'm healing and what works for me. And coming back here and being able to share that and becoming involved with the foundation has been a big growth in my healing. And for me able to pay it forward has been a wonderful experience for me, and has helped me to heal. And the way I explain healing, there's a hole in your heart that will never heal. It'll scab over, and sometimes a piece of scab falls off. Because if there was no hole in your heart, there was no love there. So sometimes when you're with someone and a chunk or a piece of scab falls off, people need to know that a piece of scab fell off and you're having a hard moment. And I try to tell people to tell their family members that, about the hole, so that if they have a bad moment, they'll understand. They may need a hug, or they may need to be alone, or maybe even cry a little bit, because men do cry. And I tell brothers, it's okay to cry, it's a healing, and I cry and I'm a chief, and that's okay. And I let people know that it's okay. I think men need to know that, because too many men think that, I'm a man, we don't cry. Guess what? We do. That my brother loved the fire service. He was a instructor at the Mass Fire Academy. He was on the state hazmat team. He had a Bachelor of Fire Science degree. That he loved the fire service, and he was about education. You never had enough. And he cared about the job. He loved the job. And it's funny, because when I started on the fire department, I started on engine 7. He started on engine 7, in a different city. I went to ladder 2. He was on ladder 2. I was in fire prevention. He was in fire prevention. I became a captain on a ladder truck. He was a captain on a ladder truck. I was a district chief. He was a district chief. I was in car 2. His car was car 2. So I tell people we were brothers in life and in the fire service.